Good morning, and thank you so much for keeping it KBC Channel 1 exactly 7 days into the 9th month of the year 2021. News Check begins right now, a program that seeks to explore issues shaping conversation in the country. And the big agenda today, what we are focusing on, is the ongoing war against COVID-19 and the uptake of the vaccination exercise in the country. And of course, we'll also be delving into the politics that is shaping the road to the 2022 general election a little bit later in the course of this broadcast. So for the first interview we are having this morning, we'll be focusing on matters COVID. But before I bring in my guest, I just want to paint a picture for you on the status so far in the country. As at yesterday, the numbers we received from the Ministry of Health is that Kenya has recorded another 258 new cases of COVID-19. This was done out of a sample size of 3,137 that were screened in the last 24 hours. That is as at yesterday. And now the figures brought the positivity rate to 8.2%. Remember, this also shows a drop in the positivity rate. We have been recording a positivity rate of above 10% for quite a long time. But beginning, I believe, the last 2 or 3 days, we have been reporting a positivity rate of below 10%. And the latest statistics by the Ministry of Health also showed that 9 more people died because of COVID-19, and these numbers were obtained from late audits conducted in the month of September, meaning that as at now, a total of 4,795 people have succumbed to COVID-19. If you look at the global numbers, not so promising as well. Over 220 million cases have been reported, with the number of those who have died standing at slightly over 4.5 million. So it's not a very good picture, in as much as we're making progress, in as much as in certain areas we've improved, especially in the uptake of the vaccination exercise. And we just want to dissect, the situation and understand where we are as a country, and also what we need to do so that as many people as possible are vaccinated. And joining me in studio to do this, we'll be doing this a little bit differently. Today we want to wear the shoe of somebody who has been there. He has actually battled COVID-19 head on. I'm talking about Elijah King Naini. Elijah is a community leader from Kajiado County. Thank you so much for creating time for us.
My pleasure.
All right, so Elijah, I want to start very, from where it all began, your experience with COVID-19. Most of us just hear about it and have interacted with it through information, through research, through what we hear from case studies like yourself. But we just want to understand from somebody who has worn that shoe, COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about your journey with COVID-19. When were you diagnosed, and, just what was happening?
Okay. This is, I must say that this pandemic that has traveled all over globally has affected all families in the world, even to the smallest villages where we come from. And I can tell you that when I was diagnosed for COVID, I wasn't expecting to get COVID. I was just living just like my normal being, and 4 months when I have heard about the breakout of COVID, it was news, and we could just watch in the news that there is someone with COVID, and these are people we don't know. So at times we even thought that the government was trying to solicit funds globally. Mm-hmm. So and all kind of narratives were flying here and there. Mm-hmm. But now I got COVID. So
this was just news until it knocked at your door.
Hit me.
Yeah.
And when I first got COVID, of course I knew the symptoms, and so I just had a slight sore throat and then some dry cough. That was around the first week of March. So I because of the precautions, I decided to go to the hospital. Ideally, I never used to go to hospital for coughing and that kind of thing. But now, because of all these advertisement and everything, and everybody is talking about COVID, I decided to go to hospital. I got my temperature checked. I had all my smell test. So ideally, there was nothing serious. I just realized that it's just a small thing that will pass. So I was given some medication from a doctor, my friend Dr. Corel in Kimana. So, and I am a hard worker, so I used to work so hard. So after I got the medication, I continued with my work. 1 week later, this cough was not leaving, and in fact, it was increasing.
So you didn't get a COVID-19 test? I
didn't because when they did the temperature, it was okay, and then I had my test, my smell, and we just thought that it's just a mere cough. So we never did any test. But as a precautionary measure, I asked the doctor to give me those medication to prevent the COVID-19, the supplements for vitamin C to boost my immune, you know. But I just did it out of precautions. Then around the 10th there, I just felt like I started having fatigue, and I just thought that this fatigue is not leaving. It's 3 days of fatigue. I just thought that I needed to take a break for a week to go rest. We've been having a whole month of distribution and subdivision of land back at Orgulwi Group Ranch, where I work. So I came to Nairobi, and I just felt like there was something on my back. It was not leaving. So then when I arrived, I thought that I should just go and get more medication. I just thought that probably the antibiotics that I was given were not working. So I went to Langata Hospital. There I explained to the doctor that I was given some medication, but it looks like it's not working for me. The temperature was still okay. I have not lost any taste, or I was just normal.
But you're feeling funny.
I was feeling fatigued.
You're different. You feel your system, something is
and
not
then
right.
The cough was dry. So, and I was given medication. I went back home. But now I started developing something unusual. I couldn't eat. I just then I started feeling like there's something heavy in my chest that is not just living. And then I decided to go back to that hospital, and I just thought that probably I need something stronger
than what you were given.
Yes.
So this time you've lost appetite?
Now I started feeling like I don't have appetite. So, and I started having some confusion whether am I really having a taste or not? Is the smell there or not? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I went back to that hospital, and thank God I found a very good doctor. After explaining myself, but I also think that because they did my oxygen levels, they never told me what number was it. But when they sent me to the doctor first kept a distance. So that was started.
That one was like a red flag already.
Yeah, it is a red flag. And then he asked me that when I explained, then he told me this is a typical symptom of a COVID-19. He told me, I'm going to recommend you to go do a test at Nairobi West Hospital. So I told him, okay, we just came out. In fact, I couldn't even drive. So I had to be driven by my wife. We went straight to Nairobi West Hospital. Now I was becoming weaker. and I could feel even walking was a bother. So we went there. I got I couldn't queue.
So this difference and this feeling weaker, is it because you've just found out, or you're suspecting, or you're asking yourself a lot of questions at this time?
I have been having it for the last 10 days.
Okay.
But now it has developed, and it was now breaking every part of my system. So by the time I was going for the test, I was extremely weak. I couldn't eat, and there is a confusion. Like, I think I don't have a taste. I think I have. I don't have a smell. I think I have. And then, but what was killing me most is the fatigue. The fatigue was just, I have never felt that kind of fatigue. So when I went there, they did a test. They said after 12 days is when you're going to, after 12 hours, you're going to get the results. I couldn't wait for the 12 hours. But now when I had a friend of mine, and Kasaine and my wife, they convinced me that we can just go home and then we wait for the results. We don't need to see a doctor when we don't have the results. So I was convinced. I went back home. I slept, and when I woke up at 6 in the morning, I heard, I was sent an email that you have tested positive.
So you know, having that confirmation, and it's now official, it's on paper.
Yes.
What were you thinking at this time, and how did your experience about COVID change? Because you initially were saying it was all about what we see in the news, the numbers are read in the news. It was far off from your surrounding. Now it's within your system. How do you feel at this time?
At that time, it didn't shock me at that time until I go to the hospital. So because I was just having this feeling that I can just get myself treated at home, and that's it. So I decided that I should go to the Nairobi West Hospital, where they diagnosed, so that they can give me the proper medication, and then I can just come and rest at home and do the thing until it gets out. So when I went to the hospital, I just went through the screening, and then that was the first time that I was told of my oxygen levels. My oxygen levels had dropped to 62.
62?
62. So when the nurse did it, he looked at me, and then she asked me, how are you feeling? I told her I'm okay. So then they looked at each other. There were two of them. Then the other one told her, can you do it again? So they did it, and it was still 62. So, and like there was some confusion, and then she was telling me, you're supposed to have collapsed, you know. Now this is the time.
So to them, interpreting those figures, they imagine you could be at a worse position. You're saying you're okay.
Yes. So now that is when I told them, you know, I was here yesterday. You guys, you had test, and after tested positive, I've just come to see a doctor. When they said you have COVID-19, I said yes, but it's you guys who have done this thing. So now when I told them like that, now they knew what is happening. So they told me, they hurried me into a room and gave me oxygen. So, and they were holding at me. So that was the time I realized I am on some serious problem here.
Like this is not, it's no longer a joke.
It's not a joke.
In fact, just telling you the words, you should have collapsed.
Yes.
You know?
So now when they gave me the oxygen, I felt some kind of relief. So then I realized I am really in big shit. So I told, then I told the doctor, you know, this one is for straight to it needs to be admitted. So I was admitted, and I was taken straight to the HDU. And the first day I get there, just few minutes, somebody just dies, and then
you say about 9 people?
Actually,
9 died while you were in hospital?
11 people died.
11 people died
out
while you were in
of the
hospital.
8 days I was in HDU. And I can say that I have never had such a horrible experience like that. In fact, on the third day, fourth day there, I requested the doctor that I need to be transferred out of this place because the death that I was witnessing was it was horrible.
Were you seeing it so
I was
close?
seeing. In fact, one of the neighbors there was we were just chatting, and then just a day later, she passed on. God rest her soul in peace. And then now I started talking to myself like, I think I'm the next one.
It's like one foot is on the grave.
Yeah.
You know, for them who've not experienced that near-death experience,
Yes.
how do you describe it? You know, you just one foot, you know,
Yes.
to it. I mean, what were you thinking during this time? Even just looking at your life,
Yes.
what did you learn as you were
when I
at that
was
particular point?
there on the 5th day, there was this senior doctor that used to come every night, and he could go through, he looked at the records, and then he could just say, this is not good. This is not good. So I was wondering what was not good. It was just that my lungs were at the near collapse. So because even with the oxygen level, it couldn't surpass 88. So and then now that was the time they decided that I should go in for a ventilator. So, and I think I really have to thank the doctor who suggested that, because on the 6th day, they put me on a ventilator for 4 good hours. And for those people who do not understand what a ventilator is some high-level pressure that is put on you. It goes straight into the lungs. And it is this pressure. It is I cannot explain how the feeling is, because if you do not go with the movement of the air, you are likely going to get choked off.
You have to be in sync with how it's operating.
When the first time they put me, I tried to remove, but it's so tight, and then it was choking me, and then that was the time a nurse told me, if you could just be calm, and it will be better, because if you don't, then you're going to have a very bad time with it. So I decided to come down, and then I could just wait for the pressure to come, and then I go with the movement. And those 4 hours, they were just like all week. So, but thank God, when after they removed, is when the lungs opened up. They were closed, so they started opening up. They started going 94, 95. It did up to 99.
Wow.
And I remember the word that doctor, when he came 2 days later, he just said, this is magical. Yeah, so when he said that, then I realized I was at where I was.
It was not as
it was not good. So,
when a doctor says that, and this is somebody you're really hoping that they know they have the solution, you tend to get discouraged, and you can even be afraid of what is next for me. How long did it take you in the hospital, and how was your recovery journey?
I took 11 days. 11 days. I was on the 9th floor. And the way the Robust Hospital is, it's just have windows. So when I was now recovering after the 8 days, I could just look and I could see that life is normal out there. People are just walking. There's vehicles that are moving, while I was confined and I couldn't come out. I just felt like I was in prison. So, and life was very normal for other people. And I was just wondering whether they knew what was happening up here.
Behind the walls.
I could see even people walking without masks. I could see that, and then I could see the morning coming, and I could see the vehicles, people going to work, life back, and I was envying to go back to that. And on the 11th day, that was on 26th March, that was the day when I was discharged from hospital. And when I came out, I just felt like
what was the first thing you did?
Born again.
What was the first thing you did after you left?
When I came out, my brothers were there, my sisters, and I just felt like I'm free. So I told them, we have to, you take me to a restaurant. I just need to sit down and see how normal people
live.
So they couldn't even believe when I took them to my local, and they just sat down to see how life is so different out here. I took a cup of juice and then I went home.
Wow.
And now I started beginning a recovery period of 2 months, because there's this thing that I think people should know, that once you have tested positive and you have gone through that kind of experience, you don't just recover immediately. So you have tested negative, yes, because they tested me negative twice. But even when I was back at home, I could feel pinches all over my chest, my back.
So the body still takes time to adjust.
Yeah, I just felt, I was just feeling like I'm still having this disease. But now I tested negative. So, and I had a different experience because I turned to the herbal. We turned to the Maasai herbal, which was very therapeutic.
That was during the 2 months after you had tested negative.
After I've tested, I was still feeling that I'm not okay, and I had finished all the drugs that I was given, and I was just feeling like nothing has changed. So, but after taking those Maasai herbs for 3 consecutive weeks, is when I just felt that something has just left my chest. I was as new as normal.
Right. So in terms of cost, how did this, hit?
For those 11 days, I had a bill of 800,000. 800,000, and it is just something that many people are dying in this country because they cannot be able to afford that medication. It is expensive. Oxygen is expensive. Let nobody lie to you. Oxygen is very expensive. And but if you want to get the proper medication, now you'll have to feel the financial pinch.
I'm hearing you talk, and I'm getting so many things in your story. First of all, the cost, how many Kenyans can be able to afford. I'm also looking at how many Kenyans are empowered enough in terms of information to even identify these signs. How many of them can access hospitals that have the right personnel that can tell and read these red flags. Many people still struggle to access these health facilities. The ones you can access, especially in the rural areas, it may be difficult to see this as a COVID-19 case. So how many Kenyans are still at risk? Those are some of the questions that are flowing in my mind as you are sharing your story. But thank you also for just taking us through that journey. I believe it's also therapeutic for you to go back to that moment. You're now driving a different kind of a campaign. It's not the usual campaign we are used to. Your campaign is centered around what you went through in your journey and experience with COVID-19, and just trying to ensure that nobody walks that path. We'll be talking about that in a bit. I'm talking about vaccination and just understanding the COVID-19 pandemic. But I want us now to just listen to what some of the officials from the Ministry of Health have to say with regards to the ongoing vaccination program in the country. And as at yesterday, this is what the Health Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Rashid Aman, said about the vaccination exercise. He said that no type of COVID-19 vaccine is inferior to the other, because there has been concerns that some go and they demand that they want a particular brand of a vaccine. They are not comfortable with this. He said that all the vaccines that are available in the country have a similar efficacy and have been certified by the World Health Organization. And of course, we also had another concern about how many people are taking this particular jab. And we just want to listen into we will be listening to some of those, we will be listening to some of those sound bites later on in the course of this particular interview. But I just want us to also look at a survey that has been done by Infotrack concerning the health sector. Let's just look at that, and then we will be coming back to this conversation. All right, that is Walter Nyakundi of InfoTrack. This particular morning at Hilton Hotel, they are launching the Kenya's public sector healthcare system report. And according to the report, they are saying that the health system is in deep crisis. A lot of issues they're discussing there, including just how to ensure that Kenyans have access to healthcare and how to make it affordable for all Kenyans, and how even the COVID-19 pandemic is proving to be quite a challenge in this sector. We are going to be getting more details from Beatrice Gatonye. She's at this particular forum and will be giving us a clear picture on what is happening. But in studio, we have been talking about the same, the war against COVID-19. I've been engaging Elijah Naini. He's a community leader from Kajiado County. But most importantly, the reason we have him here is because he himself is a survivor of COVID-19 and has now turned into an advocate and a campaigner against this particular pandemic, and he is currently conducting a campaign to just create more awareness and encourage as many Kenyans as possible to get vaccinated. So that is where we had gotten to. But before I allow you to just tell me more about this campaign, I just want us to quickly listen in to what the Health Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Rashid Aman, and the national, the head of the National COVID-19 Vaccine Task Force, Willis Akwale, also said about the plans by the government to sort of expand the priority groups for this vaccination exercise. Let's listen into that, and then we'll come back and climax this conversation.
In the country is very encouraging, as the majority of Kenyans have responded well to our call to come out and get vaccinated. At the rate at which we are moving, and pending no supply problems or constraints, we expect to attain the 10 million target set by His Excellency the President that we must achieve by December of this year, and that no vaccine is superior to the other when it comes to prevention of severe corona disease and prevention of death. Therefore, we urge all Kenyans, when going out for vaccination, that we shall not be emphasizing on the brand names, but rather ensuring that every eligible Kenyan gets vaccinated against COVID-19.
Our recommendation is that vaccines will be allocated to a facility. When you go to that facility, the vaccine that you get is a quality assured vaccine, and it will protect you. People living with disability is now a distinct priority group, as well as people who have underlying medical conditions above the age of 18.
All right, so there is no cherry picking when it comes to vaccines. The vaccine that you have at your disposal, that is the best that you have. That's the message they are sending. They are very clear message. But Elijah, you are currently also just conducting an awareness campaign on the uptake of this vaccination exercise. What inspired you to get into this?
After the horrible experience that I went through, I decided to start a campaign after taking my jab, that I need to sensitize and mobilize the people of Loitoktok to take the test. I started right at the village where I come from. I started with my own father, who was resistant. It took time for me to start succeeding in this campaign, because he refused to take the jab for 6 good months. And the people right at our neighbors and the villages, they were saying, if your dad is not taking, then we cannot take it. So the day I managed to convince him is when he was joined by over 50, 60-year-old and above. And I provided transport for them into the nearby vaccination center, which is about 30 kilometers away. and I took the vaccine, and this is an initiative dubbed the Bazoo Caravan. The Bazoo is a name that have been nicknamed by the youth down there in Loitoktok. So we started a campaign, the Bazoo Caravan, sensitizing. It's a symbolic name to move from one town to the other. And on the 31st, we did 70 kilometers, all the way from Rombo, Ndarara, Ilasit, Ngama, Loitoktok, up to Kimana, with a roadshow telling the people that they need to go out there and get the vaccine. So this campaign is not stopping. We will continue. We are not going to relent. We will continue until every single person is vaccinated in Kajiado South.
Yeah, so during these road shows, what do you do exactly? Do you have like people going into door to door? What happens?
During this campaign, we prepare pamphlets telling people how you can you can stay away from COVID and the importance of taking the COVID-19 vaccine. And then, of course, we are also issuing the masks. And we are going around telling them, and during this time, when we stop in a town, we have like 20 of them going into every shop, talking to the people within, telling them, you know, you need to wash your hands, you need to keep distance, you need to go for vaccine, this is where you're going to get a vaccine, you know, that kind of thing. And we have a personal engagement with the community out there, and it has brought a positive change, because after 1 month of campaign, we have seen that there are queues in Loitoktok Hospital, people coming to take the jab. Yes.
So the information is actually getting home.
It is.
You talked about 30 kilometers away. That's quite a distance.
That is just the smallest distance from Imurutot Mesigio coming to Loitoktok. But there are people who live the farthest end, Jokini, who lives at the Chulu Hills down there at Lengisim. Those areas are 70 kilometers away.
So does it then bring out the challenge in terms of access?
There is a challenge of accessibility, of course, and this is a major challenge, and because in the whole constituency, we only used to have one center. And thank God the government increased one more. Now we have 2 centers in the whole of Kajiado South. And this problem of people going there to get these vaccines is a major challenge, because people who live in the villages, they do not have means to go there. And that is why the Bazoo Caravan is providing transport for those people to be transported from their local villages up into the centers, so that they can be able to get a COVID-19 vaccine.
As we wrap up this conversation to pave way for the second interview, the government is targeting that as about 10 million Kenyans will be vaccinated by December this year.
Yes.
What do you think will make this achievable? What do they need to do different for us to achieve this target as a country?
What the government needs to do is to increase the centers, vaccination centers, and they need to decentralize it down into the villages. We need to set these centers at the village level. Every single ward in this country must have a vaccination center for the government to achieve the objective of doing 10 million Kenyans by December. Because if I will make a judgment based on the two vaccination centers in one constituency, then I can say that will be a tall order to achieve.
Thank you so much for your time, Elijah.
My pleasure.
Any final remarks?
Any final remarks is that I would like to tell the people of Loitoktok that this campaign is not stopping. We are going to every ward, every village, and I will be so happy that if we can be able to partner with other leaders, and this is something that should be replicated in the country, that everybody must come out and talk about this and the importance of taking this vaccine. And once we have taken the vaccine, we will wipe out this pandemic out of the country.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to that time coming. Thank you, and all the best with the Bazoo Caravan.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is just playing a role in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. I've been talking to Achieng, Naini. You do not want to go the same path. 800,000 within 3 weeks. I'm sure nobody has money to spend within 3 weeks. 800, almost 1 million, spending it within 3 weeks. Nobody wants to do that. And of course also just that pain of going through COVID-19 and battling it, it's not a very easy experience from his own story. So do what you can to protect yourself and to protect those around you, so that we can all, win this war against COVID-19. Thank you so much, Achieng, Naini from Kajiado County. And that marks the end of our first interview. We will be crossing over to now the politics of the day. In the second part of the interview, I'll be having a sit down with Fred Okango, the Secretary General of Third Way Alliance Party, also a political analyst, Willie Kamau, who will be joining me in the second part of the interview. So do stay with us. News Check continues shortly.